Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Millennials with Matt, where we kind of take some videoettes and we put them out there online, and we talk about millennials and managers and young professionals and how we all might be able to work together to build a stronger workforce. And so some of the things that I talk about in my videos hopefully are tips and tactics that you can use either as a manager or as a millennial to build your professional career or help others build their professional career. Today we want to talk about the adaptive coach. The problem here is that managers have been doing it wrong for a couple of years. Don't shoot me yet, okay? Hear me out. The problem with management is that so often we get put up into these managerial positions when really we've done the work below us so well that we go back down into the work and we try to keep doing that instead of actually managing people. When you get put into a management position, no longer do you have to build the widget or go down into the weeds and put out the fire. No, now you actually have to manage people. And so managers have been lacking that skill for a long, long time. The adaptive manager is kind of that new, or the adaptive coach as I like to call them. I don't like to use the word manager, I think it's dirty. But the adaptive coach talks directly to what you should be doing. Just think of any of your football coach or your softball coach, or maybe you had a drama coach in school. It was all about support and giving you guidance and talking to you and having conversations with you. Well, that's exactly what an adaptive coach does. One of the tools we use to help adaptive coaches grow is situational leadership, something that Ken Blanchard a while back developed, and let's go into it in this video a little bit, okay? So when we look at adaptive coaching and when we look at situational leadership, two things that we're using to kind of identify what makes a great coach or what makes a great leader. One of the things that we look at is competence. What's your knowledge and skill around kind of who you are as a manager, who you are as a coach? How do you build that competence in another person? The other thing we look at is commitment, which is all around confidence and motivation. Can you build in that employee confidence in what they're doing, or competency really? But can we also build motivation, wanting them to do what they do best? So those are the two things that we look at when we look at situational leadership. We look at competence and commitment and how do we build those up. So what Ken Blanchard talked about and what we talk about when we build an adaptive coach is this kind of four-quadrant thing here. When we start out as employees, and think about back when you started as an employee, or maybe you have some and you can think of some names coming to your head right now, we all start as a D1, and this is kind of work cyclical. A D1 is excited to be on the job. They get there the first day, they have their tie on, they're ready to rock and roll, they're so excited to be part of the team, they're ready to go. Do they know anything about the job? Nada, nothing, zero. So this D1 person is very committed to the organization. They've been through the orientation process, they believe in your mission, they've read your vision, they're committed to your organization, but they have very little competence. As that D1 progresses, usually it takes about 6 weeks to a couple months, the bloom falls off the rose, the honeymoon ends, and they really find out what the organization is all about. It wasn't all the bells and whistles they were sold when you recruited them. They enter into D2 territory, right around here. I like to call that the teenager territory. So if any of you out there have teenagers, you know they like to test out their boundaries. They like to be a little rebellious. These guys are somewhat competent, right? They've been on the job a little bit. They know a little bit about what they're doing, but they're not really committed. There's still time to save them, but they've got kind of that teenager rebellious thing. And so as an adaptive coach, you've really got to work with them to remind them why they joined the organization in the first place. If we don't solve that D2 dilemma, they become a D3. And this is maybe some of your older millennials or even older generations of workers. And these guys have a grudge. They've been around. I call them the Scrooge of the workplace. And they have a grudge, or they have a conflict. Maybe they were passed over for a promotion, or maybe they never got to be part of that team. Something happened where they show up on Monday and they seem fine, and then all of a sudden Tuesday they're miserable. Do you know anybody like that? Probably. D3 is highly competent. They know what they're doing. They've been on the job for so long, they know what they're doing. But their commitment level is very low. And so as an adaptive coach, we've got to work on that. D4 is your star employee. That can be your, what I call the rock star millennial, or they can even be your rock star other generation, baby boomer, Gen X. These guys are highly competent and highly committed. They're excited to be at the work. They're smart about it. They're confident about it. They're motivated. Our job as adaptive coaches is to get everybody to D4. Let's look at, for just a minute, what you might do with each one of these if you are an adaptive coach. The D1, you would look at building high directive, which means you're directing them a lot on what they need to do. They don't know what they need to do. So you have to be, as a coach, very directive. Think of that as your Pee-wee football team, right? Right in the beginning of it, you're giving a lot of direction, a lot of game plan. They don't need so much support, which means praise and rewards, because they're already excited about being here. So don't waste your time too much on reminding them how great a place this is, but more about, here's what we need to do, here's what it actually looks like. When we get to our D2, this is much more where we want to spend our time. We're very highly directive with these people. What are the tasks that need to get done? Here's how you grow your career. Here's the opportunities I see for you in this organization. And we're also very supportive. We're praising them and rewarding them. These are the ones we haven't lost yet. They're just teenagers, and we need to kind of come up alongside them and support them. So we want to be highly directive and highly supportive. As we get over here, our D3s, remember these are the older ones that maybe have a grudge, have been around a while. We want to be highly supportive with them, giving them praise, giving them rewards, even having a conversation. If you're a new manager coming into the situation, you've got a grumpy person, you might say, what gives? Why are we like this? You know, what have we done in the past that you might be holding on to something? Because I'm a new manager, I'm a new coach, I want to work with you and I want to see your career grow here. So that might be some of the more high supporting stuff that we do. But they don't need a whole lot of directive. Actually, giving them too much directive would be disrespectful for them because they know what they're doing. They've been around long enough. So that's our D3. When we finally get to our D4, it's what I like to call getting on your ludicrous, which means get out the way. They don't need a lot of things. They don't need a whole lot of support, and they don't need a whole lot of directive because they're already motivated and they already know what they're doing. If anything, we want to make sure that our D4s are matching up with our D2s so that the D2 and the D3 don't get together. Could you imagine these two getting together and talking about all the bad things that are going on in your organization? Instead, pair up your D4, who is highly committed and highly competent in their job, with a D2 to change the belief structure of that D2. What happens when a D4 gets promoted? They go back down to D1 again. So imagine getting that new position. Again, you're new on the job and you have to go through the employee cycle once again. Well, I hope you learned a little bit about situational leadership and a lot about being an adaptive coach. I think adaptive coach is going to be exactly what the millennial needs going on in the future. So again, thank you for tuning in. For more information about kind of this type of stuff and my organization and how I might be able to come and talk to you about millennials, go to www.growingmillennialleadership.com. Thank you and have a great day.